I'm ready to slash and burn.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And today on the show, I have someone who does a lot of things with, a few different robots, including BattleBots and in the NHRL.
Yes.
with Blackbird. So I'm excited to talk about everything. So Anthony, for anybody that doesn't know you, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for having me. I love talking robots, so this is going to be a lot of fun. My name is Anthony D'Ambrosio. I live in a little town called Tewksbury, Massachusetts, north of Boston. I am a robot nerd, just like everybody else probably watching this right now. I have had my hands in a couple of BattleBots over the past couple of years. So I was on Pain Train in 2020 with Evan Arias. I was on P1, lucky enough to be on P1 in 2021 with Brandon Zielinski and Sarah Parecki. And I had the good fortune this year of being part of an amazing group of people at BattleBots called Omega Team, which brought you, not a cult, also not a frat, which brought you Ripperoni and Starchild. So you guys will see those airing in January on BattleBots and Discovery Channel. Beyond that, I also, if you've ever been in Norwalk in Connecticut, you've probably seen me there. I build and drive the robot Blackbird at NHRL, which the finals are coming up next week. And I've been fortunate enough to qualify for that as well. I am a member of Team Shred It on that front, on the NHRL front, with some amazing, super talented, the most aggressive drivers, most brilliant drivers probably in the small weight class. Evan Arias, obviously, Angel Vidal, some really amazing Alexander Pezza. I mean, you've got Drew Davis. I mean, just great people on this team, really inspiring drivers. I also run a little website called robotsruinmylife.com. So I do apparel and branding for a lot of teams out there, including obviously Ripperoni, Starchild, Omega Team, and a ton of stuff for Norwalk. If you've been there and you've been to a little merch store there, you've probably seen a lot of my stuff. Plus, I have a website where I sell all of it too. So that is my robot resume as of today, 12/8/2022. So check back tomorrow for probably more.
that is quite a lot. So as anybody watching can imagine, there is a lot to discuss. I really love talking to the folks, especially that have done stuff with both BattleBots and Norwalk, because they're both so great in their own right and so different. But I mean, still, like, lots of great robot action, no matter which one you're going to. As you alluded to, season 7 is coming up very soon as far as the airing of that. It feels like we just left not that long ago. It really does.
Man, 3 weeks in Vegas feels like 3 years in Vegas, by the way. So yes.
I can only imagine. I was there for 5 days, but I mean, I was really only at BattleBots for 3 days, and that felt like a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Vegas is a lot on its own. But then obviously the grueling schedule of filming. Plus, I mean, you're with a lot of amazing, cool people, so you're kind of partying a little bit too. So I mean, it can be kind of a grueling pace, to say the least. So.
Yes. Now I'm curious just to hear, about your overall experience there, especially being part of a team that comes with 2 robots, because that's not super common.
Two rookie robots.
Two rookie bots.
Yes, robots. Yeah.
Exactly. So how was that for you?
I mean, I should probably start at the beginning of who we are and how Omega Team kind of got formed. So in 2021, I was fortunate enough to jump on to P1. Obviously, I was with Pain Train the year before. I'm really good friends with Evan Arias. He's one of my best friends. And originally, Pain Train wasn't accepted for 2021 season. Evan's really good friends with Brandon, and Evan originally planned to go with P1 at the beginning of that season, just so he can still go to the event. And I was lucky enough to be, asked to join P1 as well. P1 actually is built 20 minutes north of me, whereas Pain Train is like 3 hours, 4 hours south of me in Staten Island. So for me, it was great that I could just kind of go up there. And then Pain Train got accepted last minute. Evan wanted to make that team much more focused in terms of keeping it with Norwalk and a lot of people that are close to there. They could assemble there and test there. My schedule just wouldn't afford me to kind of make the trip down there, and I didn't want to take a spot and not contribute as much as other guys that could go and experience the event. So I stay with P1. Brandon is a super talented, brilliant designer, great driver, and I was so fortunate to be able to be part of that magical season that P1 had last year. So that was just a dream come true. But during that whole thing, P1 actually stayed in the same house as Valkyrie. We have, we're all from this area. Valkyrie's based in the Boston area, with P1 in Southern New Hampshire. So we all kind of knew each other anyways. We all kind of hang out outside of BattleBots. So that house was really the catalyst for Omega Team forming, because we ended up merging with a lot of Boston-based people from Uppercut, whereas Anna, Austin, Mason, and Aaron all came from that team, and joined up with Fred Moore, which was the driver of Valkyrie, as well as Amanda Fowler and Lucas Ewing. So they all kind of jumped on board as well to be kind of part of this entire thing, and Daniel Gonzalez. So I want to forget D-Guns. And then obviously Brandon and Sarah and myself all stay together as well. And we kind of had this idea that we wanted to form this team that's Boston-based builders that all kind of bring a little bit something different, but are all excel in different fields. So you have great welders, you have amazing electrical engineers, you have designers and fabricators, and people do aesthetic design. So everybody kind of can do a little bit of everything, but there are some people that excel in certain things. And we felt that by doing that would allow for not just making the bots as efficient as possible and as good as possible, but make them look as good as possible, because people like myself and Audrey and Lara can kind of focus on the cosmetic side of things. And it's a show after all, right? We want to make sure these robots look good and they perform well. So now it frees up people to focus on certain things, so they don't have to juggle 20. So that was the whole concept of Omega Team. We obviously pitched the designs. Originally, Ripperoni they weren't so hot on, but they eventually accepted it. They gave us two brand new robots, and we only had about 2.5 months to build from design. So that was quite a task to do that. There were a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges with the time frame we were given. Specifically sourcing material for like gigantic Star Child wheels for, massive pieces of UHMW that would form chassis pieces for Ripperoni, things like that. So, but we pulled it together. We were able to get the robots there, and, you'll see it on TV, how it all played out, but it was an amazing experience to go with all these great people. We had the travel stipends were great this year. They were really good to the builders this year. We had amazing sponsors that were so generous that we were able to put together very last minute. So we were able to get, a nicer house to stay in, like a big Airbnb that was kind of away from the strip, that would give us plenty of room and, things that we could do with a nice kitchen and plenty of bedrooms and, a jacuzzi and a pool. And it was great that we could just kind of go and relax between filming and not being on set. But I mean, the Omega Team is really, it's more than just, a team, and we're all friends. It's almost borderline a family at this point, and we all come from such different backgrounds. But when we get together, it's always a great time. But it made things a lot better at the event as well. We were able to share a pit. So we just had a massive pit that was just two kind of merged together. So there was no separation between. We just had a lot of room that we could work in, and everybody was really familiar with either bot. So we needed a hand on Star Child versus Ripperoni, we could always pull somebody over to help us with it, and vice versa. So, but I think the robots, we feel, performed optimally. We feel that they look good. I think the crowd really liked it. I mean, you were there, so you kind of know the crowd was into a lot of it. Can't really get too spoilery with things, but yeah, I mean, it was a great, an absolutely great time. Every season I've gone for BattleBots has been a great experience in certain respects, right? So Pain Train was my very first experience there. It was just me and Evan, basically. I just brought a bot in the middle of COVID to do this thing, last year with P1, they just went on that Cinderella run, all the way up to the round of 16. Every year has a great memory for me, and I think this year is no exception to that. I mean, there was a lot of great things that happened this year, but we learned from a lot. And next year we're going to come back and have some great times again. So make more memories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I can definitely confirm just from the, aesthetic perspective and getting to see those robots up close that they are amazing, in terms of design and everything else like that. Can't talk about how they did, but amazing to look at for sure.
Yeah, and to be honest, we have great designers like Anna and Brandon, as well as some others that really contribute a lot. That the one thing for me that's great is that they had a lot of faith in where I'm really heavily aesthetically design focused. I wanted to make it look a certain way, a pizza box, and we wanted to have certain elements to it that we can do, and like the costuming and a lot of things. Really, they just kind of gave me free reign on. We want to go real heavy into the pizza thing, but then the Star Child thing was all aliens, 1970s, 80s aliens movies. I mean, there's so much detail oriented stuff, from the costuming to the patches to the hats to like every little thing, like the engine hoist that we would bring it out on. It looks like we captured an alien. It looks like the power loader from Aliens. So these little tiny things where it was worth spending an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours decorating this engine hoist to make it look like a power loader, because when you bring it down that tunnel, the crowd just, wow, like it's just a really impressive thing to watch. And we think that it's really going to play well on TV. We think that the crowd was really into it there. The producers absolutely loved it. The sponsors are going to be really proud of it. I think that on all fronts, I think we checked every box, and it was a huge team effort. Even like the shells, the top pieces for Star Child, they look amazing. We had one dedicated artist there painting those shells the entire event. Each shell took 3, 4, 5 hours to do, because you had to paint it from the inside, so it's clear. You paint it from the inside out, and it's color shifting paint, and the eyes would glow, and like it's just a tremendous amount of work that went into it on all fronts, and we put just as much value into making it look good as it performing. We had every faith in the world that Brandon and everybody else would make it perform fantastic. Our job was to make sure that every time we stepped into that arena, you would not know that we fought a match the day before, the day before that. It looked brand new every single time, and everybody got the same experience when we came through the tunnel and saw either robot. And I think that we really nailed that part of it. I think that we're a TV show after all. We want to make sure that we're memorable. That's the goal, and I think that people will remember this season and these robots and what Omega Team did this year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I wanted to comment about, like Ripperoni in particular, after seeing this robot, I was like, why has no one ever thought of this before? Like the whole pizza theme is it's a perfect thing for a robot, and I just think that it's great. Like I love fun robots like that. And that's a big part of why I've kind of really fallen in love with Norwalk, because Norwalk really embraces the spirit of that creativity and fun just on a whole other level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at Norwalk, I think that a lot of things go for, and I've been at Norwalk since 2019. So really, I've been there since before this really got big. I remember going to these events and there was 20 robots, maybe less at some of these events, which was absolutely crazy when you think about it now. Registration, there's hundreds of robots there now. But I think with their rules not being as BattleBot's very strict in certain things. Norwalk is make it 3 pounds. We don't really care what else it does, right? So you have really cool out of the box thinking where people just go, all right, I'm going to light a penguin on fire. That's my wet. That's just silliness, right? But it's entertaining, and Norwalk understands this part of the spirit of what Norwalk is about. That's why we have weird things like if you turn off Brett, you get $1,000. That's why there's just that's why Milk Tank has a balloon filled with glitter. There's always a weird thing. And they encourage you to be a character. They're running a TV show. I mean, it's arguably it's better than BattleBots in certain respects, right? The production's fantastic. They do it all in one day. I mean, they could literally just take that and put it on TV right now. I mean, it's ready to go as a package. It's ready. But I lean heavily into the SR-71 Blackbird stealth fighter for mine. It's very kind of jet looking. But other people have, you have Bugsby, which is a burger, stuff like that. Milk Tank does the cow thing. Wake and Bake kind of have their thing. Everybody has their shtick. And I think that Norwalk really, and then I always encourage Norwalk to make people, and again, I print shirts and I do this stuff and I help people with branding. And I'm always trying to, encourage people that if they want to get a couple of things done and make their rollout look a little bit better, I'm willing to help. Everybody in the community of Norwalk is willing to help. Everybody's really approachable. And we want this to grow, right? We want it to be a great show. But I honestly think, Norwalk is probably, in some respects, the hardest competition to succeed in, just because of the grueling pace, the turnaround time, the long hours. I mean, I was fortunate enough to go all the way, and I was fighting at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was there since like 8 the day before, right? So like, you earn it there. It's a badge of honor if you're fighting at Norwalk past midnight. I mean, you're definitely one of the best prepared competitors there for sure. So, yep. I love Norwalk. I'm a huge Norwalk guy too. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I've said before, this is something that I, really didn't discover until not that long ago. But like you said, I mean, it's just grown very quickly in a pretty short amount of time. I mean, even from the first stream that I watched to the most recent stream, the level of like improvement in things is just phenomenal. And that's a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, Norwalk really puts a lot of value on the production. And they brought in, this season specifically, they brought in television producers. They brought in people that have background in TV to run the show now. This is beyond, and Austin's a smart guy. I mean, Austin's, he's the reason that Norwalk happens, right? He's the bankroll, he's the spirit behind all of it. But Austin knows that to get to another level, he brought in some of the best people that I've ever experienced working with in any capacity. And I'm not really doing much other than merch and maybe discussing some like production stuff with them that I think would be useful. But I mean, the announce crew to bring in the behind the bots guys, Luke and Chris and Lindsay and Kyle, like they're phenomenal. The pit side reporters are great. Even all the other henchmen, Jim, like Saz, like all those guys that have been there since the beginning, they're still there, and they're making sure that the product is still the same feel. It's just a much bigger, grander experience. I mean, I love going to Norwalk. I mean, it's a great experience. I'd go there every month if they had one every month. Even when I qualify, I was still going. Like there was no reason for me to go, and I'm not fighting for anything else. But it's fun to go there, and the community and like the whole spirit of the event is really, really neat. So I think that anybody that hasn't gone to one, yourself included, definitely put it on your to-do list. I mean, Norwalk is a great area too. You've got young kids, there's an aquarium down the street. They got a great mall, good restaurants. I mean, it's cool. I mean, you're close to New York too. You can make a nice weekend out of it. So, I mean, I really recommend if anybody hasn't gone to one, you have to go in person. I mean, it's just such a great, great event.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel very much that way about Norwalk as I have about BattleBots. And I mean, going to that live definitely didn't disappoint. So going to Norwalk, I kind of think would be a similar type of situation. Now, speaking of Norwalk, I have to talk about this upcoming December event because, oh my gosh, like I just like even thinking about it, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Like just the level of talent and the bots that are going to be competing is insane.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to fight in the finals before. Last year, I believe the year before I may have fought, I don't remember, but definitely last year. It's quite a show. I think this year they're really making it feel like a much bigger experience. They're doing so many amazing things. I mean, number one, I don't know if anybody saw that they're donating $1 million. So I unknowingly, just qualifying, they said, hey, you get to contribute $5,000 to any charity you want. And I'm like, that's insane. Like, so I donated all to like our local school's robotics program because that'll benefit my kids eventually as they come up through the program. But, I'd like to give back to the robotics in the area. I want, it to be, nurtured, and I want more people to be doing it. I mean, that's what fuels this whole thing. But beyond that, I mean, that number one, plus if the winner gets $250,000 to their charity, which is craziness. So to get that 250 to their charity, I mean, you got to fight your way through some of the best competitors on earth. I mean, Calvin, the Brazilians are going to be there. I mean, you've got, Jameson's going to be there. I mean, you've got some really super talented hungry drivers. I'm kind of approaching this a little bit different. My daughter's going to come with me. She's going to drive the mini bot. She's going to drive Raven. So I'm really going to make more memories with my daughter. Great experience. I think we can both have a great time and make some great memories. If I get some wins, that's great. If not, no big deal. We stick around, fight some grudge matches. Either way, our charity gets money. We get to experience the event. So that'll be super fun. But everybody's going to descend on Norwalk, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing event. It's hard to pick who you think the favorite is, right? There's just so many good robots. And all you can do is just prepare. Send has been really busy this week, I'm sure, with delivering parts. But I'm prepared. I haven't really fought Blackbird too hard this year, so I've got some spares and some chassis cut, and I'm ready to go. But again, your match could be over in one hit in 5 seconds. That's just how good the competition is going to be at this event. So fingers crossed. That's all you can do.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's, like you said, I mean, there's so many people that are going to be there. I mean, like, I don't think that Jameson Go is, at least as far as I've seen, he's not capable of making a bad robot. I don't think I've ever seen a robot of his that wasn't like spectacular.
I've suffered at his hands and Calvin's many, many times, and it hurts every time. It's not surprising when it happens, but they're just making some next level. The robots are so good and so refined. They're playing on a whole different level. Again, we're all just out there playing a really expensive game of paper, rock, scissors. That's all this robot thing is. And hopefully you just throw the right thing, a little bit of luck. That's half of it. Because everybody's good at this level. I mean, if you're fighting during the season, like some of the regular events, your first round, you may get some first time people, some experienced drivers. Not saying the designs are bad. Maybe just made some driving mistakes. Maybe they're not prepared enough. Maybe it's their first time at an event. Maybe they didn't charge their batteries, little silly things. But when you're at this event, nobody's making mistakes. These are the guys and girls that are the best of the best. They're bringing 2-3 spare robots ready to go, different configurations, different weapons. They're Swiss Army knives. They've got a configuration for any situation. I mean, I know I do. I've learned a lot. I fought Melty Brains. I can't beat them. So I'm going to try new stuff this time because there's 2 Melties in the competition, right? And they're brutal. That's my goal. If I could fight and hang with a Melty Brain this time, I'd be very happy. That's I don't think they're in my bracket or in my path, but that would be. I think the favorites have got to be some of the Melties. Greatest Challenge, I believe, or Greatest Danger, and Project Liftoff are 2 phenomenal robots. I mean, they're just so next level, So yeah, but anybody could take it. I mean, this is really going to be a great event to watch, great event to participate in. So
yes. So, if anybody who's watching this, if you weren't already planning on watching, clear your day and watch this event because you will not regret it. It's going to be amazing.
It's not going to be a long day either. This one's not going to go to 2 a.m. I think the less robots, I think you're probably talking at 8-9 o'clock finish, maybe. I don't, unless they draw it up for production, I don't know. But like mathematically looking at the schedule, it should go too deep into the night. So that's good news for people watching, and good news for the announcers, because I don't think Luke can handle another 2 a.m. stint. He's got a little baby at home, so I think he's looking forward to not being up till 2 a.m. probably doing commentating. So hi, Luke. I love Luke. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I'm sure Luke is probably watching. I know he is a big fan of the NHRL content that I do naturally. So
yeah, Luke is a great guy. He's a really, really great guy.
Yeah,
all of them are. Chris, Lindsay, Luke, Kyle. They're all just so great and so personable, and it's just so amazing to see them every event. And you can just go up and talk. I always bump into Kyle like in the middle, and we always chat for like an hour about life and how the event's going and stuff like that. So, but it's cool they have a little titanium stream now on the side too, so everybody can kind of always have FaceTime and work. And I'm sure they don't like the fact they don't get much downtime, but that's part of the gig, I guess. So
Yeah, hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I think one of the things I really love though about like how like the level of competition has gotten so intense at this point in Norwalk is that I think that it really gives a lot of the newer builders and drivers motivation to try new things and to like innovate and get better.
Mhm.
Because even some bots that I've seen that maybe, just started a little bit earlier in the year and are now trying to come up with new designs or things like that. I mean, I just think that's great because it really drives everyone to think up, what's this other thing that I could do or I could try, that nobody else is doing, or maybe I could do it better. I just think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I do like that they do, and I think they're going to do it in January this year. It's the first time brand new bot event, right? So no one could just bring. I can't just bring like Blackbird with different stickers and like that doesn't fly. Like you have to bring a new robot, right? And that's cool because it kind of it allows people to bring something and not be afraid that Calvin's going to bring links and just go right through them. That sucks, right? No one wants that to happen. Not even me. No one wants Calvin to go through them. But I think that like that's an event that I would bring my daughter to with some weird robot that she can just try for the first time. And it's not like anybody's at Norwalk on, right? Like, number one, I think most of the more high end competitors, I don't want to hit somebody because there's a chance I could break my robot or do damage to it. So typically, if I think that maybe this thing is done, I'll crank down my weapon. Maybe I back off a little bit, just feel it out because you never know. That one extra hit, if you decide to be a little bit malicious, that may put you on your side, that may kill something. More repairs you got to do before the next match. So not a lot. I don't think that most Norwalk competitors are out there to just completely rip somebody in half. If you do it, feels pretty good in the heat of battle. But if they're already kind of limping, you don't want to really do that to anybody. But I think that this is very tough because there's a lot of smaller weight class events have dried up, right? Up here in the Boston area, we had mass destruction. That's dried up a little bit due to COVID. That was a 1 pound event that you could kind of bring whatever you got, and it wasn't so competitive because the prizes weren't really there. So it didn't really. A lot of people wouldn't fly out and travel for it, right? So the competition was a lot lower. The problem is that Norwalk is kind of the only game in town now. There are a couple of smaller events that are popping up, springing up, but the issue is first time builders. It can be a little tough and a little daunting and scary to invest the time and money to go to Norwalk for the first time. People really shouldn't be because I think the only way to get better, like you said, is to show up and unfortunately the name of the game here is you get destroyed, figure out how you don't get destroyed the next time, right? And just keep learning and building. For example, like Team Shreddit was kind of born of the idea that we wanted to make beer bar robots as good as possible. So usually I would come and try one or two new things and bring the robot, and whatever worked and didn't work, I'd change it for the next event. Well, now if 7 of us are all running beer bars with similar motors, similar wheels, whatever, we could all change something a little bit. And then now we're all refining our designs at the same time. So at the end of the event, we compare notes and go, all right, those motor mounts are better than those ones. Everybody use these now. So now we're actually speeding up the process and making our designs better. I think you're getting similar kind of people sharing ideas, like hive mind mentality. Like WPI guys probably do similar stuff. We'll say they use similar drivetrains and things, and other teams like that. They're all kind of sharing ideas and prototyping at the same time, and that's where we kind of iterate design up. That's where like Paint Train, the new Shreddit Bro got some of its ideas were for some of the things we did at the small weight class, but we all rapid prototyped it working, all season. So, I mean, you're seeing a lot of people field testing really cool stuff. Like Ripperoni started at Norwalk. Starchild started at Norwalk. I mean, that's really where it got its notoriety at Norwalk. I don't think it started there. There were other events, but again, like Norwalk has become the proving ground. It's the breeding ground for design. And now you can prototype at 3, 12, and 30. And now with your application to BattleBots, go, here's our highlight reel from 30 pounds. This thing works. Give us a shot. And I think that's helping a lot of teams get their foot in the door. So Norwalk is giving those opportunities too. I think that's a big benefit to going and competing at that event. Plus, it's a free event. They don't charge you for entrance, and I think that the value of what you get from Norwalk in terms of like, if your design works or not, that's way more valuable than winning the golden dumpster at the end, right? Because you can take that and further your design and maybe go to the show. BattleBots or wherever you end up. So everybody wants to go home with the golden dumpster, right? But only one person can do it every event. So, but if you come away with some knowledge, that sometimes is more valuable than anything, any cash you're going to take with you. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been it has been suggested to me by a couple of people, hey, you should come to the January event and bring a robot. And the only thing with that is that, number one, between the months of November and February, I am not motivated to leave my house, let alone travel out of the state, because it is just very cold, and I don't want to do that. But at the same time, like, it's going to take me a little bit of time to put something together that I want to bring.
that's fair.
Not necessarily the most competitive, because I'd be honored to take whatever I would come up with and just have it destroyed by one of the best. I'd be fine with that.
Norwalk is heated too, so I mean, don't worry about being cold. Once you get there, you're good when you get inside. So I wouldn't worry about that. But again, I would recommend, though, show up when you're ready. Don't show up with like a duct tape together. People do that, which is fine. But again, it's still a show, right? And they need to move things along, and they can only hold off for so long for people that aren't ready. So definitely make sure your robot works before you show up. Your batteries are charged, and there's no reason to make excuses for anything. Just show up and be like, I'm ready for my match whenever you need me. The sooner you get your match done, the more time you got to fix it for the next one. That's bring spares too. Spares is I don't think people really logically think like, I'm going to need 3 sets of wheels. You probably will if you keep going. I mean, that's So I think that you're seeing a lot of people bring 2 Lynxes. You're going to see. I have 2 Blackbirds. Shredded's got a whole crate of Shreddeds. Like it's sometimes easier for some of these guys just to pull another robot and go. So that's or they just have a configuration for horizontals, one for verticals, and then they just pull whatever one they need for that fight. So that's the benefit to Norwalk, is that as long as you're weighing in and safetying with all your stuff, unfortunately, you may go up against somebody that has 5 robots waiting. So he's got a fresh one ready to go. So again, that comes with time. The more you do this, the more prepared you are. That comes with experience. That's all.
Right. And that's the benefit of having smaller robots. It's much easier and less expensive to have full duplicates than it is for a 250-pound robot.
Yep, absolutely. The big ones are expensive. I think that we were talking earlier, and I was saying that just the labor that goes into one Star Child wheel plus materials is more than entire robots. It's probably more. One wheel is probably more than I spend on a Blackbird all year as one Star Child wheel, which is kind of crazy for the show. So yes, definitely make sure your stuff is working in 30-pound before you go to the show and make some mistakes. That's that's the one benefit to Norwalk that people should take advantage of for sure. So
yes, I do know that there's obviously some builders out there that have gone straight into building the big ones and been able to do that. But I think the overall consensus from people that I've talked to is it is much more beneficial to start small and, get to make sure that robot works the way that you want it to, and have the time to test it out. And then if you like it, then you can scale it up.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, look at Shredded Pro for this year, right? I mean, the pictures are out there now, so everybody can kind of see the robot. But every single person that is on that crew that went to work on that robot drives a very similar robot, in a smaller weight class. So like when you get there, you know exactly what to do. Like the physics of how everything works. Like the layout of all the internals. So for them, there's no learning curve. It's a very simple robot. It's just a gigantic beetle weight is really what that robot is. So I mean, in that sense, I don't think that some of those guys could walk over and work on Star Child. Star Child's a totally different animal. Just like I couldn't walk over and work on, Double Tap. Like it would take me a while to get acclimated to what the heck is even going on in that thing. So I think that it's the way that Evan does things specifically with Shredded. It makes sense because a lot of that iterated design comes from the smaller ones. So it makes people much more familiar with the layout and how to work on it. So that's another great takeaway from Norwalk as well. Plus, I don't want to actually glaze over one thing with Norwalk. I mean, from a spectator standpoint too, the venue is amazing. I don't know if they show it sometimes, and it's hard for me to watch the stream when I'm there, obviously. But I mean, the spectator experience between the robot museum that they have, They have a VIP area. They've got amazing food vendors that are there. They've got beer trucks. They've got taco truck. They've got like every event. They got more and more stuff. They have a great merch area with lots of robots, real my life stuff. So go buy that, obviously. But even the viewing areas of like the arenas, there's great like stadium seating in there. They've got like the titanium boxes that are right there. It makes you feel like right there, part of the experience. There's great photo ops that are there. And there's a million other things that I'm probably missing. But I would highly recommend, anybody that can go to this event. It's worth the trip. It's worth flying in for a weekend just to see it. You're going to meet a lot of BattleBots competitors that are just there hanging out. So it's very, very cool. I would strongly recommend nhrl.io. If no one knows the address, that's it. So check them out. It's a great experience.
Yes. I can't say firsthand, but from everything that I've heard, it definitely sounds to be the case for sure. One thing that I did want to make sure that I, announced on this episode, because, and I'll make sure that I put it in the post, obviously, is that, as everybody knows, I've been talking about that I'm going to do a holiday giveaway, and thanks to Anthony, this giveaway is going to be extra awesome. So yeah, I'm going to be giving away a few things, including a Hexbugs rival set with Whiplash and Sawblaze, which is something that I own, and I can tell you it is very awesome. Obviously two very awesome robots, so you will definitely want to be entering for that contest.
Yeah, and again, I'm happy to contribute, and I'm happy to donate this giveaway to you guys, because it's great to keep podcasts like this and all the other amazing podcasts that are out there alive, because you guys keep people interested about what we do, right? You guys keep people excited about robot combat. You get people backstories, for people like me and other people, that we can tell our stories of why we love robotics and what our background is and the other passions that we have in life. And I think that it's important what you do. And if a donation can bring a couple more people in and it gets a couple more eyes on this, everybody wins. So I'm happy to do it. And thank you for, I know it's a lot of your time, and I know it's like sometimes super thankless and a passion project, but I listen to it. A lot of people listen to it. And I want to thank you on behalf of everybody that watches this, that you do a great job, and I want you to continue doing it. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is definitely something I think, most people that get into robotics, initially are just like, hey, this could be like a fun thing, and don't necessarily like realize what it could turn into. And it's just, this is truly, and I've said it like so many times, the best community that I've ever been involved with. Everyone is so supportive, and everyone is just like rooting for everyone else, and I think that's amazing. And so that's why I like to continue doing this and kind of growing that.
I mean, this community, I mean, I've had the good fortune, in it almost seems like a previous life, right? I worked for a paintball company. That's what I do for my day job, and I got to travel the country and play paintball for years, develop products and play tournaments and do all this stuff. And then I found this dumb robot thing, which has changed my entire life. It really has. I've been able to travel the country, be on television and meet some lifelong friends, and it really has been a dream come true. And it's I feel like when people get to a certain level of stuff, like I've competed quite a bit, and if there's some things that I can do to give back, like help teams with branding, or contribute stuff to podcasts like yours, I want to do it, because I mean, you're giving back to something that's given you such a great thing in your life, right? And now I get to share this with my daughter and my kids. So I mean, it's really this community is so great, and not just at Norwalk or BattleBots, but any event you go to. I've never met a bad person. I don't think. Maybe there are some bad people, but I haven't met them yet, right? I've met some lifelong friends doing this, some of my best friends doing this. I've brought people from Angel Vidal, who worked with me in paintball for years, that was going to design school. I brought him, to an event last year, and then he ended up designing Paint Train. He helped design Shredded Bro. He's designing, all of these little components for all of our robots, and he's become a huge asset to the robot community as a whole. So if you could bring more people into this, that's massive, because it makes such an impact, a giant ripple effect all the way through. So again, from podcasts to builders to whatever it is, I mean, if you can give back in any way and think you can help the community grow, please do it. Because it helps all of us in the end. So
very well said. Well, for everyone that's watching, kind of to go along with that theme, please make sure that you like, subscribe, share this. Let me know what content that you want to see, because as I said before, if you are a builder, driver, however you're involved with combat robotics, I'd love to have you on my show. So just let me know. But thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time on the show.
thanks, everybody.